Hello everyone, it's the Anime here. Today we're going to be going over my experience watching Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 1. And yeah, with that, hit that shit. Okay, first thing I want to start off with, this is hands down the best season out of any season that has come out so far. I don't want to hear anyone saying that Season 4 is better than this, because it's not. Honestly, Season 4 is the worst season, but again, I'll get to that when I get to that. So, yeah, first I want to start off with the God tier animation. Okay, this animation is better than any animation we have had in the series so far. Season 3 overall, even in part 2, but I'm not going to talk about part 2 today. I'm just talking about part 1. Is one of the best, has one of the best animations out of any one of the seasons. Like, even when you get to like things like Levi's fight against Kenny, which is early on in the episodes, like one of the earliest fights, that is literally like some of the best animation I've seen in anime. Just in that fight alone. Now, it was a short fight, like 4 to 5 minutes, but it was still like god tier animation how they did it. It was so beautiful to watch, honestly. Now, I know that there's better animation in anime during fights, but like, you have to give this like props, like what props is deserved. It's one of the best, even though it's so short. It's so memorable. Like, I bet you if you like ask an Attack on Titan like fan like what the top like 3 fights were, Levi versus Kenny would be up there. It kind of has to be, almost. And then even with other things, like when the scout troops were breaking into the ice hideout or the crystal hideout, and they were facing all the troops, like, even that was some beautiful animation. It was like absolutely god tier. Now, obviously, they had like a lot of time to work on, I believe, Attack on Titan Season 3. So obviously, it's gonna have some god tier animation, especially with the studio that's working on it. It's just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely great work from the studio that worked on it. So you just gotta give that plot points that's due. Then we have like confirming theories that came out in like Season 2. Like, there was a lot of theories like, hey, if you eat like someone that's a Titan, then you like transform back into a human being and stuff like that. That was kind of came up in the theories that like how the Titans they were killing were actually people. So like, then you came up with the theories like, maybe like if all the Titans are people, then if you get a Titan, just an intelligent Titan or a human Titan or a shifting Titan, whatever you want to call it, and a regular Titan eats that, or a pure Titan eats that shifted Titan, then they get the Titan's powers and get to transform back into a human. And honestly, that was just like one of the major theories that came up in Season 2, and I'm just glad that they like addressed that, like almost actually they didn't address that till like midway through Season 3 Part 1, but even then that's pretty early on. Like, they could have saved it to Season 4 if they wanted to address that, because that's really, they really needed to address it. Well, actually, no, they needed to address it that season, but still, just glad that they addressed that like early on, so that we just don't get confused about what's happening. Obviously, bringing up plot points that were set up in last season together, such as Historia. So basically, how Historia was set up, they just kind of really like knocked out the ballpark with just like continuing on with Historia and actually making her a really good female character, not just making her like something that like one and done with the plot just for the plot, not making her useless. But honestly, Historia in the female character department's probably like top 2. Honestly, what's your face? The Inkaman female, Mikasa. Okay, sorry, I'm really bad with names, but even with like Mikasa, she's obviously gonna be before her because she's like the main side character, kind of, besides Eren. So yeah, obviously she's gonna come first before um, Historia, but even Historia even able to compete with a main side character is really good in terms of plot. Another thing that I really liked, that I realized that Attack on Titan is really going for, even that's got set up here, is like the starting or the creation of a nation, because before like they're going through civil war in season 3.1, so like civil war like between the scouts and just an inside army that protects the king and stuff like that. They're going through like a civil war between them, so it's just adding like most countries that like, because they're coming out of the dark ages at this point, like they're learning about stuff that they never thought was possible and that didn't know anything. So really it's kind of like a coming of age story of a nation, and right now the coming out of the dark ages as they slowly were with all the things that they're learning, and then that kind of leads to a civil war to like create a nation and to create like a better space, because the people are realizing like, hey, we aren't supposed to be living like this. So, or like they're being mistreated, or like underhanded, like they're not getting all the information that they're supposed to be getting. So they're kind of becoming a nation at that point, which is something I saw and something that really is a really good plot point to focus on, honestly. Great world building. Just the world building, or the more world building that we get in this part of season 3 is really good on how they kind of explain things that we kind of had questions about, like, okay, like, well, why did like no one like get outside the walls, like, or why does no one like ever think about getting outside the walls or anything like that? And then that gets explained by like, hey, or like, hey, like this queen, waste everyone's memories so they don't remember anything. So then we get explained. So then that gets explained, which honestly was like a needed world building. And then it kind of gives us the question, like, maybe this isn't like, maybe this is like a part of like the world and not like fully the world, which later gets expanded on in part 2 of season 3. But we get the idea in part 1, which is good, kind of leaving us like anticipating like what's going on. Levi's character building, obviously he had like a lot of character building in part 1 between just Kenny and how he found out he was his uncle and that he was kind of fighting his uncle, his own family member, and just the fighting between Kenny really is good character building for Levi. And even at the end of part 1 of season 3, he shows like compassion to the scouts, which is something that has never happened before, which is good character building. Like, we've seen that he does have compassion, but he's never shown it based on how he doesn't like to see his comrade dies and such like that. Another good thing that's highly needed, otherwise the story was going to start getting kind of repetitive, is how Eren finally following his guts and taking the lead in the situation. Now this was shown in the Crystal Cave, when he said like, okay, no, I'm not going to listen to you, Levi, I'm going to follow my gut here, and he drinks the armored potion to give him the crystallization power and basically saves everyone, which everyone would have died if he would have done the end of the series. Let's go. I'm just kidding. So honestly, very needed. Otherwise, because this also shows like his character development, Aaron's character development to become a more independent person. Because if he didn't become a more independent person, or at least didn't show that he was slowly becoming one, it was gonna be like, well, this story's just gonna become save Aaron the freaking series, ain't it? Because Aaron's just gonna keep on getting captured and captured and captured and captured and captured and captured over and over again. It's gonna need saving a lot, which honestly still needs a little bit of saving here and there. But with this, he's becoming a more independent character. And finally, well, with Historia killing her father, we get more Historia character building and showing that she's worthy of being a queen because she's not afraid to fight for her people, which honestly is a great leader in itself. If you're not afraid to fight for your people, then hey, like, it just shows that you're committed to your people and that you're not just trying to use them. Because if you're fighting and risking your life for them, then hey, you're committed to them. It's just almost a guaranteed fact that if you're willing to fight for your people, then you're going to be committed to them. Then finally the ending of season 3 part 1 really sets up for season 3 part 2, which is something that every season needs. Obviously it's kind of a mandatory thing, but the way that they did it kind of left everyone confused, but in a good way. Okay, they didn't know what was gonna happen, so they were confused, but not in a way that kind of like, what the fuck is this shit? It's more like, oh my god, what's happening here? So yeah, that's obviously a really good thing, and that's something that I experienced too while watching season 3. Well, obviously not as much of extent, because I didn't have to wait. I just continued to season 3 part 2, but still, it's really good that how they did that. So yeah, overall, I'll give the season a 10 out of 10, even if you didn't know any of this. Actually, 9 out of 10 if you didn't know any of the other stories. Yeah, obviously, but 10 out of 10, even without seeing season 4, it's a 10 out of 10. That's just how good season 3 is. Season 3 part 1, even though it's just mostly world building and political stuff, still a 10 out of 10 in my eyes, because it was just so good. So yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. And yeah, with that, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, or not. You're free as the anime. Signing off.